vocation, being a detective. Later, I came to Roanoke and got a job with the Norfolk and Western Railroad, working in the coalfield district for protection activities. I like that term, protection activities. And later, I became the chief special agent for investigations for the Norfolk Railroad. People say that it didn't hurt that my brother-in-law, W.J. Jenks, was general manager of the railroad and later vice president. But I think my reputation as a fair, fearless, and determined investigator certainly paid off for that decision. You see, back then there was no FBI. We didn't have a state police. All you had was sheriffs who would sometimes deputize a few guys at the bar to chase after a criminal. They were sober, a small police force. There really wasn't any way to investigate crimes. There was no standardized way to investigate them. Why, if you had a business that was embezzled, the police force just would take down note the fact that you were robbed. They just didn't go looking at clues or trying to find suspects or go chasing after them. That's where detective agencies came in. And this was very important to the railroads because the railroads crossed county lines. They crossed state lines. For the first time, you had a group of company that needed the protection that went beyond the county or state level. Well, we were very proud to help that. In fact, I later joined the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And our goal was to standardize and index crime throughout the country to help police agencies. In fact, I'm very proud of the fact that I was the person sent to Scotland Yard to investigate fingerprinting. No one had ever heard of it before. Who could ever know? You could take ink, put it on your hand, press it against a piece of paper, and everyone had a different fingerprint. We finally had a way to identify criminals. And if they left their fingerprints on the scene, you learned how to lift those too. Before, they just would look at the shape of the ear and wrote down what that was. Well, you're getting one good knife fight, and there went that identification. I also enjoyed the time I spent with my friend Thomas Felts of Carroll County when in 1900 we went ahead and formed the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency. We didn't do divorces. We didn't chase after long-lost lovers. We were serious investigators, helping the railroads, not only with the situations of a hobo hopping on a passing boxcar, but actually armed robbery of payrolls that were being shipped by the railroad or the post office. And there was insurance frauds and people stealing luggage. We had one guy that would take this big piece of luggage with a hole on the bottom. He'd walk by with the luggage was trading off the train, and he'd just drop it down there, click it, and walk away. We had a hard time catching that fella because back then you didn't have cameras. So you had to be a detective with good eyes to keep track of people because, well, like today, folks just sort of like to have their luggage when they get off the train. Later, we finally decided that we could also find business not only working with other railroads, but also the exploring and working for the coal industry. This is rather controversial. The coal industry had a lot of property to protect, particularly against those unions. Well, the unions were causing all sorts of trouble for the coal companies, and, well, they just would rather union people not work for them, so we just sort of asked union people to please go away. Sometimes they just needed a little encouragement, and sometimes things got a little rough, and, well, I don't want to go all into it, but it was pretty rough times. After a while, it turns out that as law enforcement grew and you had the FBI and you had state police, the railroads were able to get their own internal security forces. And of course, with all the sort of new legislation, the government said that I couldn't send somebody in a coal field as an employee to spy on the workers. And with the other laws that said that, well, you just can't start shooting each other over a strike line, we finally found we just didn't have the real cause to have detectives anymore, and I guess detective agencies went the way of Philip Marlowe or Sam Spade. Made good movies, but, well, I didn't stick around to watch any of them. I decided to go into business here locally in Roanoke. Why, I was on the board of directors of the Colonial National Bank and the Liberty Trust Company. And I was also an early investor in the Evergreen Burial Company and the Mountain View Cemetery. I guess that's why I ended up here. But my real joy was to become the president of the Martha Washington Candy Company. Oh, we sold candy in 48 stores through the South. As a former detective, I thought, well, I could either sell moonshine or candy. And, well, I thought candy and sweets would be the better way to do it. Well, today, I'm just spending my time here. I like it as a former detective because I like to know where all the bodies are buried. And like you, I'm sort of more of a history detective today. And I hope you all enjoy being history detectives as you come and meet all my friends here in the cemetery. So you all have a wonderful time in the Evergreen Burial Park, and I wish you a very pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much.